Ever wondered what it would be like to have the supernatural abilities of animals? Well, most people have, since, one of the most popular superheroes is literally Spider-Man, who can stick to walls and shoot webs that are stronger than steel. Honestly, I always wondered why it came out of his arms, though, and not his posterior. I guess it would be kind of hard swinging from building to building upside down. But apart from that, what other animals on Earth have incredible superpowers? A good place to start is with lizards. Also capable of sticking to walls like spiders, they're also blessed with regeneration and can replace lost tails. Sometimes they'll even detach the tail themselves to confuse or evade predators. Their lookalikes, the salamanders, take it a step further and are able to regenerate lost arms and legs. Not too sure about third legs though. If you look further into the lizard family, a lot of cool builds can be found. Sometimes called the Jesus Christ lizard, the basilisk is capable of walking on water. Not literally though, as they sort of have to run across a surface with their webbed feet. And for any alcoholics out there, no, they can't turn water into wine. The horned lizard also deserves a mention since they can literally shoot blood out of their eyes. No, it's not because they were watching the Emoji Movie or that god-awful cow cartoon. They actually increase the blood pressure near their eyes by contracting muscles that rupture an artery. It is a bit intense, but it only occurs when they feel truly threatened by a predator, who will usually get hit in the face with toxic and disgusting blood. Crazy enough, this isn't even the coolest lizard. The coolest one is actually able to save you about 15% or more on car insurance. Moving on though, I think everyone at one point or another wished they could fly, whether for the thrill of it or to leave behind their alcoholic father. It's a blessing and freedom that many creatures have, such as the peregrine falcon, which is the fastest creature on the planet. During its nosedives, they can reach 240 miles per hour, and upon impact, take the souls of any prey they're hunting, including ducks or pigeons. Crazy fact, the US government actually designed their B-2 bomber using some inspiration from the aerodynamics of this creature. Another unique flying creature is the hummingbird. If you've ever noticed, their wings shake at a breathtaking speed. Faster than your mom's toys, these tiny birds can reach 80 flaps per second, which allows them to fly in place, backwards, and even upside down, sort of like they're levitating. Being airborne is cool and all, but imagine being able to swim the open waters and dive to great depths. Maybe like the sperm whale, whose body is capable of diving over 10,000 feet underwater. This not only comes in handy when searching for prey, but also whenever KSI threatens to release new music. He's currently doing more damage to the music industry than, that guy with baby oil. Speaking of horrible sounds, the sperm whale is the loudest creature on the planet, as their clicks can reach 230 decibels, which is louder than some space rockets and more than enough to vibrate a human body to death. These clicks are important though, since sperm whales rely on echolocation to see in the deep ocean, sending out sound waves which get reflected when in contact with any object and allows whales to get a mental image of the whole area. Another cool way to see in the dark is just by glowing. Many animals are capable of bioluminescence and can glow on their own, just like the anglerfish from Nemo. Realistically though, who cares about light when you can just make electricity? Due to special organs in the body, eels can do just that, capable of producing 600 volts. I remember as a kid rubbing my feet on the carpet for hours just to zap someone real quick. Imagine your body just being able to produce 600 volts at will and stunning anybody in the vicinity. If girls could do that, they wouldn't even have to choose the bear anymore. Some more creatures I wanted to highlight in the ocean. A pistol shrimp. It's capable of closing its claws so fast underwater that a bubble is created that also collapses rapidly at the temperature of the sun, producing a sonic sound wave that can kill even a fish. In the same breath, the mantis shrimp, who can throw a punch 50 times faster than a human can blink, causes the water temperature around it to reach that of the sun for a moment. This makes it powerful enough to break aquarium glass and destroy clams. See guys, it's actually a compliment when she calls it a shrimp. It means it's packing quite a punch. Anyway, the last aquatic creature, the pufferfish, which can expand to 3 times its normal body size by filling up its belly. Unlike your mom though, it can deflate at will since it mostly swallowed air and water, not McDonald's. But going back to lizards, let's talk about the chameleon. 360-degree eyes is crazy. You can see every angle around you. Julius Caesar definitely wished he had that. But let's not forget the super long projectile tongue that also happens to be very sticky as well. Imagine your girl with this in the bedroom. Or your man's. For a chameleon though, it allows them to catch all the annoying flies that buzz around the place. A quick protein snack. And last but not least, chameleons also possess the art of camouflage, meaning they're able to change color at will to match their surroundings, appearing almost invisible to both predators and prey. Imagine Americans with this ability. You can gain or lose privilege in an instant depending on what setting you choose. Another creature with camo is the octopus. We could mention tentacles, which weebs seem to geek about. But I'm just going to talk about the smokescreen ability. Imagine just spurting black ink on somebody just because you don't like them or need to run away. Or even crazier, just releasing the worst fart spray known to mankind. Yes, the skunk's ability to make a stench worse than rotten onions and potatoes can be smelled over a mile away. It's absolutely diabolical. To be fair, some humans have this ability too. Just walk in any computer science classroom. Now, you may think the skunk has the worst blast in the animal kingdom, but the bombardier beetle exists. From its rear end, it can create an explosion that sends boiling acid, 100 degrees Celsius in temperature, at 22 miles per hour to its enemies. Don't even ask me how they do this. I'm assuming they must have eaten the insect world equivalent of Taco Bell. Anyway, apart from that, we can talk about cobra venom, which can kill an elephant in one bite, or an ant, which can carry 100 times their body weight. But, I mean, come on, most people already know these generic things. How about the jellyfish, who are blessed with immortality? Well, sort of. When they reach the end of their life cycle, they can self-destruct and erase all their memories, turning their body into a small group of cells, which will again grow up into a fully grown jellyfish. If you ask me though, this isn't really all that desirable. I mean, you've pretty much lost everything and are reborn over and over and over again for eternity. You know, at least until the next major apocalypse arrives or when humans finally completely ruin the planet. Have you ever looked at an animal and wondered, what would that taste like? Or, can I eat that thing? I'm sure the Chinese do this all the time, but I do as well. In fact, it's the second question that pops in my head whenever I see a new animal. The first is, how the hell does that thing reproduce? Like, do octopus actually use their tentacles? You know, like in those family-friendly cartoons? Moving on. Today, I'm gonna go over national animals that are edible, or actually do get eaten by someone on this crummy planet. Let's first start off with a generic answer. The national animal for the French people is a chicken. To be more specific, it's a rooster. No, seriously, some jokes just write themselves. To this day, I think Brazil put up a better fight against the Germans. On a more real note, who doesn't love chicken? You can have it grilled, steamed, poached, or even baked. My personal favorite, I love fried chicken. Maybe some cornbread, mac and cheese, or collard greens. Oh, and don't forget watermelon slices as a dessert. Bomb! Moving on, let's get into something more exotic and definitely more wild. The Australian man. And their national animal, the kangaroo. Now, me personally, I wouldn't even think about touching these creatures, but we're talking about the Australians here. I've seen videos of them boxing kangaroos, kayaking in the ocean on a plastic tub, going to war with emus, wrestling with crocodiles, and, of all things, even eating Vegemite. Yeah, some real crazy stuff. It's said that kangaroo meat is sold in grocery stores throughout the country. Much like any other meats, it can be prepared as steaks, sausages, and in form of burgers. As for taste, it's supposedly a very lean and chewy meat. Moving on, let's talk about Russia and their national animal, the bear. Now, from what I heard online, most Russians see bears as friends or vodka drinking buddies. If you're Khabib, you actually see them as a sparring partner. Anywho, there are those who will consume the meat in Russia, but I believe this phenomenon might be more prevalent in the US. There was one time I saw a video on YouTube where this American decided to cook some chunks of fatty bear meat in an empty tin can. He of course chewed on the pieces of meat, but he also drank that bear fat straight from the can like it was a milkshake. Yeah, it's really no surprise why people think Americans are overweight. I've also seen an American eat bear poop before. Bro's just asking for tapeworms at that point. As for how it tastes, no, not the poop. I heard bear meat really depends on what the animal's diet consists of. Like if it ate berries, elk, or salmon. My best finding was that it tasted like beef, but sweeter. Fun fact, Russia's neighbor to the south, China, also has a bear as their national animal. The panda, to be specific. And no, you cannot eat that one. I mean, would you even want to try it? They might body slam you, throw a punch, or even grab your pinky and say, skadoosh. The fourth movie sucks, by the way. Anyway, it's time to move on to a great nation. One where the best furniture store to ever exist was created, where the best meatballs are from, and where the greatest YouTuber of all time hails from. The land of Vikings and super duper long last names, Sweden. In this snowy land, they hail the elk as their national animal. Apart from causing numerous car accidents, the elk can carry up to 250 pounds of meat and is often eaten by the locals, especially during the annual elk hunt, where up to 90,000 elks are hunted each year. I can't find an exact description on the taste. Maybe someone can mention it down in the comments. Also, do they make Swedish meatballs with elk? Speaking of balls, let's move on to the country with the best football team on the planet, Spain, and their national animal, the bull. This animal means a lot to the country, considering one of the most iconic events in this nation are bull runs or fights, where a bunch of people try to escape a raging bull or a matador battles it with red cloth and a sword. Funny enough, the first time I ever learned about this tradition was during a classic Tom and Jerry episode. Side note, in my opinion, this is probably the greatest cartoon of all time. Anyway, not sure most people know this, but a bull is actually just a muscular male cow. There's a specific breed used for the infamous bull runs, which also get eaten after being slain by a matador. From what I hear, many turn it into a stew, but the most popular dishes use the oxtail. If Spain ever lets tourists back in, I would love to try. The food, that is, not the run of the bullfight. Sadly, I am an out-of-shape American. By the way, Spain's next-door neighbor, the Portuguese, have quite an interesting choice for the national animal. Why in the world is it an Iberian wolf? I swear, they should have just made it the goat. Moving on to the home of anime, Japan. Based on my research, they boast both the pheasant and carp, specifically koi, as their national animals. I expected koi, but maybe not pheasant. As in other countries, it's a more gamey version of a chicken that can be prepared in almost all of the same ways. Would honestly love to try some fried pheasant. Koi from Japan are the ornamental versions of a carp and likely taste the same. They're far better to keep around for appearance and value. Also, because they control the tide of the moon, and I don't want Avatar Aang turning into a big waterfish again. My first girlfriend turned into the moon has got to be the craziest statement I have ever heard in my life. Interestingly enough, goldfish is actually a type of carp. I mean, that begs the question, has anyone ever tried it? I mean, personally, I've never had a goldfish live past the tender age of 5 minutes. That's rough, buddy. I'd imagine cooking it would take so much effort just to get one bite. I'll just get the cheddar versions for now. Now for some quick fire facts. The national animal of Saudi Arabia is the camel, which they do consume, along with also drinking the milk. Again, I don't know why, but it apparently tastes a lot like lean beef. Maybe drier. Someone can correct me. Over in Mongolia, they not only conquered like 33% of the world using horses, but will eat them as well. Apparently, it has a sweet taste as well, and again, is like beef or venison. The Bahamas have the blue marlin as a national animal. I'm just gonna assume that that thing tastes incredible. Probably would make incredible sushi. And now for the final segment. What the hell were Wales and Scotland thinking when they chose national animals? A dragon and a unicorn. I mean, do they think we live in a happily ever after universe or something? Is there like a princess to guard or an ogre running around on those islands? I mean, dragon is pretty reasonable to me, but a unicorn is next level. Either way, I doubt either would taste good. Matter of fact, I think the dragon would be doing the eating, if anything. If you're a normal person, you probably have a dog or cat running around your house. But what if you were one of the richest and most famous people of all time? Let's have a quick look, shall we? If we're talking about famous people, what better place to start than with the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson? Apart from, a bunch of 10-year-olds, the famous pop star also let a chimpanzee into his house. Named Bubbles, this lovable chimp was rescued from a laboratory and is well known for appearing on tour with Michael and on multiple television shows and movies throughout the years. This precious chimp is actually still alive today at over 40 years old and lives down in Florida, at a sanctuary for chimpanzees that have grown up unaccustomed to wildlife. Mike truly loved this chimp, so much that even after his death, the Jackson estate still pays $30,000 annually for Bubbles to stay there. Moving on, we're gonna take a peek into the life of Colombia's former richest man, the king of Coca-Cola, one Pablo Escobar. Apart from building the best prison ever, no, seriously, and burning $100 bills to keep it warm, this man at his peak also had a private zoo where he kept the most exotic of creatures from around the world. The most famous of which being his 4 hippos from the 1980s, which have now multiplied to an estimated 160 units. How can 4 turn into 160, you may ask? Well, let's just say they went full-on Sweet Home Alabama mode. Crazy enough, of the 4 original hippos, only 1 was male, so my man was getting busy and going sicko mode. Today, they are currently classified as an invasive species, since their waste fertilizes algae and bacteria that are detrimental to Colombian aquatic life, and also because it's, a freaking hippo. Who's gonna try hunting that thing? The hippo is ferocious, but in my opinion, there's a far more dangerous creature. One that tears man to shreds, pummels them into oblivion, and rips their ears off. Yes, Mike Tyson. And his pet tigers too, I guess. The most notable being a white Bengal tiger named Kenya that lived with Mike for over 15 years, who he only let go after it ripped a woman's arm off, who was trespassing on the property. Seriously though, if I ever ended up on that property, I'm not sure which beast I'd rather run into. A vicious tiger or a prime Mike Tyson looking for any excuse to send someone to the shadow realm. Something just as vicious. How about a grizzly bear? Or even better, double it. That's the exact gift Mr. Thomas Jefferson, writer of the best breakup letter in history, received one day while in office. Given by Captain Zebulon Pike, a general and well-known explorer who wanted to show the president the untamed wilderness and potential of the American West. It was to be noted that 2 months later, Jefferson sent them to a museum though, due to how troublesome and dangerous it was for him. By then, he really couldn't bear it much longer. How about we talk about a more relatable pet for a moment? A frickin' ocelot owned by Salvador Dali, the man who made his famous painting that everyone knows about. If you ask me what I think it means, I think it's saying you're wasting your time in life right now, especially if you're watching this video. Go outside, do big things in the world. If you're still here, this man Salvador had an IRL ocelot. Do you have any idea how many times I've tried to tame these things in Minecraft? How fast they run too? Salvador was a lucky man. He definitely didn't have to deal with creepers at night. Maybe like that one that uses baby oil, or that wants a cupcake. We've already talked about 2 big cats on this list. How about a third? The fastest land animal on the planet. No, not Usain Bolt. The cheetah, which can hit over 70 miles an hour. American cops trying to reach a quota would love to run into these guys every weekend. Maybe Bolt as well, if you know what I mean. Back on topic though, who would own such a rapid creature? Josephine Baker, of course. A very famous African-American performer in France, who also helped advocate for women and equal rights. She loved her cheetah named Chiquita, and the pair would travel the world together performing for shows, and the cheetah was always by her side, even when they slept. I'm gonna refrain from another cop joke out of respect and move on here. The IRS's favorite actor is up next. Nicolas Cage. Being the financially responsible individual he is, Mr. Cage at one point had an octopus named Cool, which was bought for a reported $150,000. He bought this in hopes that it would help with his acting. Not too sure about that one though. Anyways, he also had 2 albino king cobras at one point, which he'd often stare at with a wine glass in hand. He always thought they wanted to eradicate him, so he had anti-venom on him at all times. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you keep him caged, Nicholas. Anywho, they were given away once his neighbors had had enough. Let's go back in history to one of history's most famous short kings, Mr. Napoleon Bonaparte. Let's get something straight, by the way. He was actually average height during his time. Regardless, we're here to talk about his wife Josephine. She had many exotic pets, like emus, kangaroos, but among her favorites was an orangutan named Rose. They had a special bond, since the Empress often had the creature in nice dresses and allowed it to eat at the table since it had good manners. As you may expect, raising an orangutan in a palace is as bad of an idea as invading Russia in the winter. It's said that the poor thing died within a year. And last but not least, I know I said no conventional pets, but this is the exception. A truly good boy that deserves to rest with his owner in heaven. Hachiko the dog, who belonged to a Tokyo professor that would wait every day for 9 long years for his master who had died to return at the same train station where they'd always meet up after work. Truly, I'm trying not to cry right now. Cut the onions. I mean, cut the camera.